Hey, welcome to the post-game show. My instant reaction to the 49ers 34-7 preseason loss to the Raiders. I'm here in Las Vegas. I saw the game. I talked to the coach and the quarterbacks, and we need to talk about what the hell just happened in Las Vegas this week. And I know some Niner fans are going to be like, it's just preseason, relax, it doesn't matter, none of the starters played. And yes, that's true. But also, this week was bigger than the preseason game. It was a whole trip to Vegas. 2 joint practices, which Kyle Shanahan said might mean more than this preseason game. Let's recap the week. They have a practice on Tuesday. Offense drops 6 passes. Defense is making fun of them, saying stuff like they're at Vegas already, they're on the strip already, they're not locked in. So they lost their focus before they went to Vegas. Then they go to Vegas, get outplayed by the Raiders in both joint practices, not just one. This is with the starters playing. And you're thinking, okay, fine, it's just practice, it's one of those things. And then this happens where they just get destroyed in a game that doesn't matter. So forget the Raiders. The Niners, they were awful. 2 of 10 on third down, 0 for 2 on fourth down. Couldn't stop the run. Javon Kinlaw, Kevin Givens blown off the ball. Couldn't block anyone on the offensive side. The one touchdown they scored should have been an interception. The Raiders dropped 2 picks and won by 27. The Raiders aren't a good football team. What we saw out here isn't the beginning of the Raiders' run to the Super Bowl. The Raiders are a team that's going to lose more games than they win. And I'm sure they're coming out of this week thinking, who the hell did we just play? I bet you the Raiders thought that the Niners were going to make them better. But now the Raiders are probably just thinking, man, are we overconfident? We're not better than the Niners, are we? Do the Niners suck, or do they just not show up? And I don't know. I mean, obviously they don't suck, but clearly they didn't show up to this week. I don't know what they did in Vegas, but they were not focused on getting better this week. They didn't get better. It was a wasted week, and I think the Raiders, probably Josh McDaniel, if he's being completely honest, he's probably upset with the Niners. Because now he's probably thinking, man, my team's overconfident. My team over here thinks they're better than the Niners when really the Niners just didn't show up and respect us at all. They just breezed into Vegas, enjoyed themselves, told themselves that the practices in the preseason game didn't matter, and left. I don't know. It's not a very inspiring start. This is a team that's played 40 games the last 2 years, and they're trying to have a hot start this year so they can get the number 1 seed. They have Christian McCaffrey on the team now. This is a team that should not have a slow start, and yet, look at them today. Does this look like a team that's going to start 5-0? Does this look like a team that's going to go to the Super Bowl? God forbid anyone who was on the O-line or D-line today has to play in a real game. God forbid Colton McKivitz misses a game. Obviously, Trent Williams can't miss anything, but Colton McKivitz right now is a very important player for the Niners because they don't have a backup tackle on the team. Matt Pryor's awful. Jalen Moore isn't much better. So, I don't know. Is it possible this team isn't as good as we thought it is? A team that went to 2 straight NFC Championship games, we're just assuming they're going to go to a 3rd straight one. There's a reason why teams rarely do that. It's hard. I don't know. It seems like a team that's kind of going through the motions. They think it's just a foregone conclusion that they can start slow and reel off a bunch of wins and they'll make it back to the NFC Championship game. Well, first of all, that's not the goal. The goal is a Super Bowl victory. Second of all, this seems like a team that's not taking the season seriously. The whole point of having a joint practice is that those should be the best practices. This should be the best week of the offseason, but this was the worst week of the offseason for the 49ers. So the Raiders got to be confused as hell. What did we just do? Are we good, or did the Niners just disrespect us? The Niners have to go home and be like, you know what? Let's just pretend none of that happened. Let's edit that out of our brains and move on, which is not what you want. JM617 says he's a member for 4 months. Thank you. Dave Barclay says, fire Kyle, appreciate you, Grant. Thank you, Dave. Will says all of this to prepare us for Captain Kirk next year. Nah, if Kyle tries to pivot off of this quarterback room to bring Kirk Cousins, they should fire him. No more quarterbacks. They said Brock Purdy's the real deal. Who was 63? That man couldn't block high schoolers. Nick Zakel, terrible player. They drafted him in the 6th round last year. Sorry. Mason says Trey is Schrodinger's quarterback. I don't know what that means. Seems like a bad game plan for Trey. I'm going to talk about that. Fabio Tapia says, Kinlaw was so disappointing and Trey had 2 interceptions drop. He didn't look focused at all. I'm hoping Purdy is great because he needs to be. The whole team didn't look focused. What's that about? Filthy Gent says Trey had no protection. The O-line was doo-doo, and seems like Darnold had fresher receivers when he was out there. Agree. Dave Barkley says, I'm a Trey fan, but Mason, that was funny. Seems like Kyle wants Trey to look bad. Am I wrong? Says Dave. Well, let's talk about Trey Lance. Coming into the game, everyone's saying this is Trey Lance's opportunity, or the 49ers' opportunity, to increase Trey Lance's trade value. This is a showcase. Make him look good so you can trade him. But I don't think that's what it was. They can't trade Trey Lance if he starts playing well. If he starts playing well, he's the starting quarterback because they spent 3 first-round picks on him. If he starts improving to the point where he looks like a starting quarterback, goodbye, Brock. You're the backup again. And I don't think the Niners want to do that. I think they want Brock Purdy to be the starter. I mean, they're not playing in the preseason. They're not making him compete for his job. They want Brock to be the starter. So I feel like the way they called plays for Trey was to justify that decision. With Trey, it didn't feel like they were making things easy on him. The way you make things easy on a quarterback in this offense is run the ball, handoff. Sam Darnold, 9 handoffs, 8 throws, 8 dropbacks. That's how you make a quarterback look good in this offense. He's secondary. The run game is the first thing you got to worry about. But with Trey, 20 dropbacks and 7 throws, 7 handoffs, 20 dropbacks and 7 handoffs when he got sacked 4 times and a half. I mean, what, are you trying to get him hurt? You don't care at all? It seems like Kyle Shanahan intentionally threw Trey Lance to the Wolves just so he could turn around and be like, see, that's why I'm not playing him. See? And it feels like, Kyle was the one who wanted Trey Lance to begin with. But why did he want Trey Lance? Because he wanted a quarterback who was a dual threat. He wanted the quarterback to be part of the run game. He's a run game guy. And when he first used Trey the first couple of years, they used a lot of quarterback-driven runs with him. Kyle was all about having a dual-threat quarterback, kind of like 10 years ago when he had RG3. Then Trey Lance broke his ankle. And now I feel like Kyle Shanahan has written him off. Like, I can't call runs for you anymore. You're no longer a dual-threat quarterback, which means you're a bust. You're a failure. You suck. And so, yeah, I will give you some opportunities, and I'll let you throw, and I'll make it seem like I'm giving you a fair shot, but I'm not. I've made my mind up on you. You're not good enough. And so when I put you out there, I'm not going to call plays like I would call them for Purdy or for Darnold or for Brandon Allen. I'm going to throw you to the wolves. I'm going to call 3 times as many dropbacks as handoffs, which is something I would never do for any other quarterback on this team. And then you're going to suck because you'll have no protection and no one open. And then you'll have to go to the post-game press conference and stand there and smile. After the game, Trey came out talking about how super excited he is and happy he is with this deadpan, like really sad look on his face. And I asked him, hey, in the offseason, you said all you wanted was an opportunity to compete. Given how the offseason has unfolded, do you feel you've gotten that? And he just looked around and was like, just trying to make the most of my opportunities, just trying to do the best with what I can. Like, clearly, he feels lied to. Clearly, he feels led on. Clearly, he wants to leave. That's my guess. Clearly, he wants to leave. And if the Niners think he's washed up, damaged goods, no longer viable, a dual threat quarterback who can't run anymore and now it just sucks, then get rid of him. Trade him for a 7th round pick. Cut him. But they won't. Because deep down they know they can't develop him, but someone else could. So they'll throw him out to the wolves. They won't make him look bad, but they won't help him look good because they can't coach him. They know it. And they want Brock Purdy to be the starter, and they don't want anyone to question the fact that they have 3 first-round picks on the bench. They never gave him a real opportunity. They don't know how to coach him, and they shouldn't have drafted him in the first place. They think if they can just pivot to Brock Purdy, then no one will care, and they'll never get questioned about the worst trade, the worst development of a quarterback ever. So forget the Niners trying to make Trey look good. Forget the Niners trying to set him up for success. This is all about covering their butts, justifying burying him, justifying anointing Brock Purdy after 7 games. That's all this is about. Oh, you want to see Trey Lance? Here you go. I'll call a pass every single time. Because again, if he played well in this game, they're not trading Trey. You're starting Trey. But that didn't happen. His value didn't go up. And now Trey, what's he going to do? Can he complain? No. I mean, I'm not, in Trey's entourage. I don't really care. I do think it's unfortunate and he hasn't gotten a fair shot, but I also think he's going to get a fair shot somewhere else eventually. So he'll be fine. But I just think the Niners are doing themselves a disservice because, once again, they're not really doing a true quarterback competition. They're assuming Brock's their best guy. He didn't play in the preseason. He doesn't compete for anything. And then this backup quarterback competition, it's not even. One guy has to be the focal point of the offense, has to throw way more than he hands off. The other guy gets to be an ancillary part of the offense. Brock's an ancillary part of the offense. But for whatever reason, Trey Lance is the only quarterback who's not really allowed to hand off very much on this team. Which is weird because what he did in college, you know what he did in college? Hand off. Most of the time. And when this team went to the Super Bowl, you know what they did? Hand off. Most of the time. I figured if you could go to a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo just handing off, you could do that with Trey Lance too. And just the threat of him being able to run or throw downfield might open up the offense. But no, we only get to see Trey Lance throw 1 million passes. Under duress. I don't know. Does that mean he's the best quarterback on the team? No. They botched his development. He doesn't look particularly ready or confident to start week 1. In fact, none of these quarterbacks do. Even Darnold. This is a very disappointing team. They got to get their stuff together. They got a month. But right now, they look like a team that thinks they can just show up week 1 and be the best team in the league. No. Michael, can we just go ahead and say we have a quarterback crisis? This isn't just week 1 of preseason. This is year 7 with Kyle and year 3 with Trey. No, Brock Purdy's the real deal. What are you talking about? Sammy Martinez says, here's $5. Thank you. Connor Lambert says, Grant, you're freaking cooking right now. Thank you. I feel like Kyle Shanahan thinks he's slick, but he's not. He never calls games with 3 passes, 3-to-1 drop back to handoff ratio. He never does that. A preseason game. The score doesn't matter. Situational football doesn't matter. Be balanced. Otherwise, especially when the quarterback's getting hit and sacked, you don't want Trey Lance to get sacked a lot in a preseason game that doesn't matter. Remember the last time Trey Lance played a preseason game against the Raiders? You know what happened? He's playing behind a bad backup offensive line, broke his finger, ruined 2 years of his development. And Kyle Shanahan was flirting with that again today because he's so protective of his quarterbacks or of Trey. And he thinks we don't notice? I asked Kyle after the game, what's up with all the dropbacks for Trey? He said, because he went 3 and out so many times. Well, you know why he went 3 and out so many times? Because you called so many passes. Wow, that's what happened. Nathan, is Robbie Gould available? Signed to a 3-year, $45 million contract. Going to talk about that. He is available. Mark Jacob 69 says, stop trying to justify Trey's terrible performance. Who played well in the Niners today? Mark? Who was good? This team played like shit today. The whole team. Trey played like shit. The offensive line played like shit. Kyle coached like shit. Put it on Trey, though. How about the whole fucking team sleepwalked through 2 joint practices in a preseason game and then shrugged it off afterward like, who cares? That's what happened. Trey included. Sam included. Kyle included. The team might as well have just fucking stayed in Santa Clara. It's a waste of everyone's time. I got more out of this trip than they did. I got a bunch of views. I was trending yesterday on Twitter. I didn't even work. I love this trip. What did they do? Mark, Fabio Tapia says Jake Moody missed 2 field goals. My gosh. Yeah. Jesus, Kyle set up Trey for failure with 6 straight pass plays and no O-line. Would he ever do that? And that was Trey's first game back from an injury. How about that? Trey's first game back from an injury and you call 6 straight pass plays? Even when two of them get you sacked? Thanks, Kyle. Really appreciate it. How about ease him into the fucking game? Let him hand off. First game back from a broken ankle. Hasn't played actual football in almost a year. That's not how you do it. 20 dropbacks? He's lucky he didn't get hurt. Where is your subscription link? Been waiting too. I don't know. Someone tell him. I forgot. Dude, our second O-line is trash. If any starter gets hurt, it's all bad. Agree, Brother Bob. Alex Filoni. $5, thank you. FT9R fan LA. Kyle called less plays for Trey than you would complain about it. LOL, stop it. Also, Darnold had similar pressure and got the ball out quick. I think Darnold had less pressure. like significantly less pressure. And all I'm saying is, if Darnold gets a balanced a balanced offense, about as many runs as passes, if Purdy gets that, if that's the Niners' identity, then why wouldn't you put Trey in that offense? We've all been asking Kyle to just let Trey run your offense like every other quarterback. And he never does. He wouldn't call a game like that, preseason, regular season, for any other quarterback on the team except Trey. Am I wrong? The continued mismanagement of Trey Lance is David. Yeah, I think it's an issue. Moody equals hot garbage. Please keep Gold's number close. This is Brother Bob. I, for one, am ready for another 3 and 5 starts. This is Andrew Bowe. Dave Barclay says, as long as Kyle's the coach, I'm done spending money on this team. He is not a good coach. He wants the spotlight. I hate it. Our team that we all love, Kyle is crapping on all of us. F off, Kyle. I mean, take the spotlight, Kyle. You take the spotlight and the responsibility and the criticism for this waste of a week. That's on you. I'm sure the Raiders are like, man, it would have been nice if the Niners showed up. We were really hoping to get some good work against a good team, but you guys didn't take it seriously. Amazing what no reps and a crap backup O-line can do. Yeah, we should have seen this coming. As soon as Trey Lance and Sam Darnold got no practice on Friday, how are they going to play well today? Come on, Grant. I like your analysis, bro. Passive aggressive. But call it like you see it. If Trey is not delivering, don't give me 1 million excuses. Love the show, dog. I'm going to give the full context out there. Trey isn't going to win the Super Bowl for the team this year, but he's been mismanaged. Brock Purdy isn't going to win the Super Bowl for this team this year, and neither is Sam Darnold. So if you want to get off on putting this all on Trey, cool. But this team still isn't going to win the Super Bowl this year. Starts at the top. Kyle's no genius as Rick. No, he is. He really is. JR says narrative already as Trey looked indecisive and rattled. Not that this was his first game back after almost a year. Brock will get a pass after week 1. Right, because Brock is rusty. But Trey doesn't get to be rusty at all, right? I'm telling you, if Trey's name was Chad and his pigmentation was a little different, the narrative about him would be different. But your name is Trey. You look the way you are, no patience. That's how it is in the NFL. Am I wrong? Tell me I'm wrong. Everyone blame one person. Grant is right. Everyone effing dropped the ball today. Niners suck today, says Dave Barclay. Yeah. They played like crap all week. Stephen Pryor. How do you say Trey would be QB1 if he looked well when everyone other than you has accepted Brock as QB1? Kyle Lynch team has to be crystal clear. Never was a QB1 contest. Well, maybe there should be because Brock's played like crap all offseason. And if he were in this game today, maybe he would have played like crap too. I'd like to see it. I don't see why he doesn't have to prove himself, but Trey does. Ella Scorpion says, my first Niner game experience here in my hometown got so bored that I started playing Pokemon Go. I haven't played that in 5 years, BT-Dub. Did you find anything good? Were there Pokemon in Allegiant Stadium? Because that sounds like a more interesting endeavor than whatever the fuck the 49ers did in this game. Nathan Flores says, I don't want to hear Brock Purdy fans' excuses when he's struggling and saying it's just rust. Thank you. Filthy Gent says, saddest part for Trey may be that everyone on his own team seems to be in on it. I'm going to abandon this team as a fan purely on morality. I don't root for this team. Kyle a genius. He got the narrative he wanted. Yes, he did. Shreddy Murphy says, I had fun, Grant. Las Vegas 2023 Fire Kyle. I had a great time. Brother Bob, happy your father outed that fraud Damon Bruce. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he deserved that. Wave 9 says, Trey Lance looked fine to me. Announcers were so negative. I mean, it looked okay, given, it's okay. 9 pressures, 4 sacks equals bad O-line. No, it's Trey's fault. Trey has to block and throw. Paul Newland says, although we got cooked as a 25-year-old, it was nice to see Steve Young play live football. That was funny. I like that. That was something I might say. Snarky. What's up? Can we talk about Brock Purdy for a second? The guy who didn't play. I'm a little perturbed. Brock Purdy has 7 career starts. He took over a team that was on a 4-game winning streak. He continued the winning streak. And now, after a serious elbow surgery, no OTAs in minicamp, and a very spotty training camp, he doesn't need any preseason. Forget competing. He doesn't even need to play in the preseason when Patrick Mahomes does. That's ridiculous. I want to see Brock Purdy play in the preseason. I want Kyle Shanahan to show everyone that none of these quarterbacks are prepared to start this season. But he won't. He wants you to focus on Trey and say, Trey's not ready. The Niners are making the right decision. Brock's ready, but we don't know because he won't play in the preseason, and he's having a terrible training camp, but that doesn't matter. But Trey, everything he does matters, but Brock is proven. So he'll just start week 1, and if it doesn't go so well, he'll get a bunch of patience. I think that's ridiculous. He's not a proven quarterback. He had a nice stretch of games for 2 months. He had a serious injury. He's having a terrible offseason. Play him. Let's see if it looks different. What if all these quarterbacks are going to look like this behind that offensive line with Matt Pryor and Jalen Moore and Nick Zakelj? I'd like to see that. I'd like to see the 49ers actually try to figure out who the best quarterback on the team is. Put them all with different units. Judge them actually like on the same criteria. How do you call it a quarterback 2 competition when Trey Lance and Sam Darnold are doing different things? Darnold's handing off, Trey Lance is throwing. How do you compare them? Brock isn't even playing. Brock's the best quarterback on the team because he doesn't have to prove himself in a preseason game. It's hard to say the Niners are taking this offseason seriously if Brock's going to start week 1 and get no preseason. He's not that good. Tom Brady could do something like that. Drew Brees could do something like that. Aaron Rodgers, not Brock Purdy. And more people should feel this way. Like, how are we letting Kyle Shanahan do this? You're just going to throw a 23-year-old quarterback with 7, 8 career starts out there coming off a huge injury, half an off season that wasn't very good, and say, it'll be fine. I don't like it. I want to know who the best quarterback on the team is. Maybe it's Sam Darnold. Maybe it's Brandon Allen. Just assuming it's Brock Purdy, I wouldn't do that. Because what I see from Brock Purdy in practice is a guy who has lost zip on his throws. Why is he throwing a pick a day? Well, at first it was like, oh, well, it's because he's facing the Niners defense. They're great. Okay. But then he went and faced the Raiders for 2 days and threw 4 picks with a 5th one dropped. So it's not the defense. It's him. What about him? He doesn't have the zip to fit the throws into tight windows. Throws he could make last year, he can't make this year. And he's learning that the hard way. So he's getting a real good education in camp, but it's not necessarily building confidence. And him getting smacked by the Raiders 2 days in a row really must hurt the confidence and morale of him and the whole team. So how are the Niners, what are they going to do about that? Put him on ice until week 1 or get him out there in a preseason game and let him change the narrative? How confident can the Niners be as a team in Brock and themselves if he doesn't play any preseason games and shows up cold week 1 after having a bad training camp? Scary. I don't think he's earned it. I don't think it's in the best interest of the team. He needs to play in the preseason. Should have played in this game. Brandon Allen played in this game, but Brock Purdy didn't. What the fuck is that? Explain that shit. Brandon Allen needed to have almost an entire quarter, but Brock Purdy needs no work. The Niners are pretending that they're preparing 4 quarterbacks to play this year. They're preparing no quarterbacks to play this year. Especially Brock. They should be going slow with Brock. They think he's the real deal. That means he's the franchise quarterback. That means he's the future, not just this year. Go slow. What's the race? Put him in a preseason game. Let us all evaluate him. And if he doesn't look good, maybe you shouldn't start week 1. Maybe start Sam Darnold or whoever it is. If you're going to have a quarterback competition, honor it. Make it even. Judge it fairly. And pick the guy who plays the best. Because what you're doing right now is not a quarterback competition. It's a backup quarterback competition, which is just a distraction. Right? Don't they say, like, the backup quarterback can't be a distraction? That's why Colin Kaepernick isn't in the NFL anymore, right? Tim Tebow. I mean, they're good enough, but they're distractions, and you can't have the backup quarterback be a distraction. What about if there's a backup quarterback competition overshadowing everything? How is that good for the team? This is a team that's supposed to be winning the Super Bowl this year, and we're spending the entire offseason talking about which quarterback should be the backup. That's the ultimate distraction. And these backup quarterbacks didn't create it. Kyle did. And people celebrate it, act like what he's doing is forward thinking and cutting edge. No, it's ridiculous. Play Brock Purdy in the preseason. If Patrick Mahomes plays, Brock should play. Paul Newland says, although we got cooked, got you. John Pereira says, the window is officially closed. They aren't getting younger. The salary cap is very poor. Too many big contracts. Kyle has to go with Lynch, period. To me, it's a very top-heavy team. They got 7 or 8, 9, 10 good, highly paid players. And you saw what the backups look like. Not good. Also, Steve Wilkes, we got to wonder. Not the most successful defensive coordinator. I mean, he had some good years. He's had some bad years too. See what happens. Still no word about Nick Bosa either. Stapler Sand says Lance threw 2 drop picks against the Raiders' second-team defense after learning on the bench for 3 years. That's correct. Benjamin Haler Merriam says, Grant, give me a line from Kilate. I don't know what Kilate is. I'm sorry. She Prays Mike says, tired of this Trey hate. He did what he could do with a terrible online and play calling, but Brock can throw 4 picks in training camp, which Kyle values more. No problem. Yeah, man. Brock throws 4 picks in the joint practices, a pick a day in training camp, and that doesn't matter? I think it does. Fish and Chips, thank you very much. Rocky Von Wagner says, every take you had was wrong and you won't admit it. Trey looked awful. Both other quarterbacks looked decent. Classic lib race baiting. Open your eyes. What the fuck? Fuck you. Super Sin, I'm a big fan, Grant. Let's get it together. Thank you. Preach, says Mario Gonzalez. Fish and Chips, wasn't that a shout out? A shutout, really? Zilch, not. Yeah, the 7 points they got, they shouldn't have had. King Q, new member. Thank you. RS, Grant, you're the GOAT for the chance to compete question. Trey Lance's answer to the question to me said a lot about how he really feels about his chances to actually compete. Great job. He couldn't look me in the eye. Thank you. I was proud of that question. Stephen Pryor says, who says Brock won't play in the preseason? Is game 1. Mahomes had 2 attempt passes, 15 yards. Is that really going to change your mind? I'm not saying he won't. I'm saying he needs to, Stephen. He needs to. Connor, 2.2K viewers is no joke. Fans are pissed. They should be. Like, you don't have to win the preseason game, but, like, take it fucking seriously. This is unacceptable. I'm sure Josh McDaniels is like, man, this is bad. Like, my team thinks they're great now. When really the Niners just didn't show up. Thanks. Grand Marshall says, thank you for the great content, Grant. The Niners sure aren't. Brock is the next Drew Brees, says Fab. King Q says, Grant, I'm glad to see all the things you have been saying on TV. Now we know you're the truth. Keep doing you, says King Q. Fish and Chips, the lack of competitiveness was startling. What needs to happen for Kyle to leave the Niners? I don't know, man. Niner fans to, like, have some higher standards. Get after Kyle and pressers. Enough vanilla at him. Got you. Can't be too upset with Trey's play. He was surrounded by bums. Purdy practiced with the starters and threw 4 interceptions throughout. That's what I would say. We got to talk about Jake Moody. He's been having a great training camp. He's made 60-plus yard field goals in training camp. But I'm a little afraid that he's like the next Sebastian Janikowski, okay? I grew up on Sebastian Janikowski. Al Davis drafted him in round 1. Like, the strongest leg ever. Like, Sebastian Janikowski had one of this, like, a freaking cannon for a left leg. You know what the problem with Sebastian Janikowski was, though? He couldn't kick straight. He was inaccurate. So he might just shank a 39-yard field goal, like Jake Moody did today. And then, when it was time to kick like a 58-yarder, he pushed it and left it short. So I know he physically can hit these kicks, kick these kicks. But the issue with him, the issue at kicker isn't necessarily like what you're capable of. It's what you're going to do in the playoffs. You're replacing Robbie Gould, who's never missed a kick in the playoffs for the 49ers, ever. Are you built like that, or are the nerves going to get to you? I know you made big kicks in college is not the same. How did you shank a 39-yard field goal today? That's scary. So, you know what? Don't trade Zane Gonzalez just yet. Maybe you want to call up Robbie Gould. These third-round picks are scary, man. Jake Moody, awful tonight. Cameron Latu, caught a pass, then fumbled. I think they should cut him. Those 2 third-round picks, wow. But interesting that Jake Moody's been essentially automatic in practice and couldn't hit anything today. That's scary. Young guy, is he ready for the pressure? You're not on the Arizona Cardinals or the Rams or the Titans. You're on a team that everyone thinks is the best team in the league or the best team in the NFC. You can't mess up. Is he built for that kind of pressure? I guess we'll find out. Drewish guy says, is Mason behind TDP now? Conley looked good. I'm a Trey guy. His throws look good, but looks like Mayfield trying to avoid pressure. He can get better with real reps, though. I don't know. It feels like TDP is more of the outside zone runner. One cut, get to the outside, and Mason's more between the tackles. Mason dropped that screen. That was no good. Jesus says, Mullen said it took him a year to be football ready after surgery. Brock Purdy won't be ready this season. Well, but he's the real deal, though. Say it loud. Say it again loud to the haters. F you to them. Thank you, David. Jake, not in the moody today. Brother Bob says, I love it. You told that guy, fuck you, man. I had to. Sorry. Dave Barclay says, I have a new eval. Kyle didn't address things because others said we needed it. I.e. O-line, nothing changes. We will go 8-8, 8-9, 9-8. If we're lucky, new management is necessary for this team. Kyle didn't address things because others said we needed it. Yeah, if you tell him, Kyle, you lost this game because your offensive line isn't good enough, he'll be like, no, it was the quarterback's fault and the tight end's fault. I'm not touching my O-line this year. Just to double down and confirm that I really think you're wrong. Last thing, quick. Ray McLeod going to be out for the first 8. Well, he's going to be out for 8 weeks. It's like the first 4 games of the season. They need a new returner. It ain't Ronnie Bell. Ronnie Bell, he's okay. He dropped a pass. He's not particularly dynamic as a returner or receiver. He looks like a 7th-round pick. You know who does look dynamic as a returner? Undrafted free agent rookie, cornerback, Deshaun Jameson. He's explosive. One punt return, he tried to do a little bit too much, went left and right, but if he can get upfield, he looks like he can make people miss and then break off long gains. Deshaun Jameson, he should make the team, especially over Cameron Latu. Deshaun Jameson's a good player. He should make the team. He should be the returner. And then a tight end, Ross Willie should make the team. I don't see how Cam Latu can make it. It's going to be really interesting. But Deshaun Jameson, fun to watch you play football. He's a good player. Karan Sharma says the biggest issue today, the depth of the Niners was always what bailed them out. Doesn't look like they will survive injuries, lack of depth. Thank you. This team always had crazy depth. This year, it does. Where is it? It ain't on the D-line. It ain't on the O-line. It's in the running back room. It's not the tight end room. It's not in the wide receiver room. It ain't in the quarterback room. It doesn't look like it exists anymore. And maybe that's natural. When you end up giving all these extensions, Warner, Trent Williams, Debo, Juszczyk, McCaffrey, Bosa coming up, you're going to lose depth. No more Ebukam. No more Amenahue. Those are good players on the Niners bench. Amenahue in particular. Not anymore, though. Jameson for decent returns, all held and flagged. I know. It was crazy. What head coach cons their fans into thinking quarterback is bad? The Shanahans. It did it to RG3 too. First head coach. What head coach cons? Yeah, got you. No passes to Martin. Bell is probably making it. Nah, Martin got some passes. Khalil Kemp. First Colton McKivitz and now Jason Poe. Can we finally stop taking Trent Williams talent eval seriously? Yes, I'm with you. Ella Scorpion says, is there any free agent that you think would be worth signing to help us out on the O-line? Also, the Pokemon I caught was a shiny Green Ninja, pretty solid. Dope. I think it's a little late to be finding starting offensive linemen. They need to find backups, though. Moody was booty. What was that? Moody was booty. Kyle is a dictator. Hey, his dad was too. Stapler Sand says, we won't win a Super Bowl with Kyle. Dude makes too many bad decisions when it comes to quarterback room. I am scared for Brock's future with Kyle. Yes, but give Kyle credit. He did challenge a long throw today in a preseason game and got it right. Now, next time you might want to do that in an NFC Championship game when it actually counts, but I think he's improving. John says, I wish Brock Purdy would be traded out of SF for many reasons coming from Iowa State fan graduate. We loved him at ISU. I feel you, man. Can we get a Fernando? Fernando. Why did I even do that in the first place? I don't know why. Latu might be out of here. Bell was cooking before that drop. He looked really good otherwise. He had a nice punt return. Jet sweep. You all act like the season is over already. Stop. Nah, we're just really talking about Pokemon Go now. It was much... That one guy's game of Pokemon Go was much more entertaining and competitive than the Niners today. Anyway, that's the whole show. I'm not going to belabor the point. We don't need to talk about the depth of the team that much because it sucks. We don't really have to take the Niners that seriously right now because they didn't take any of this seriously. The joint practices or this game. Waste of a week. And it started before they left. So it'd be really nice to see the Niners sort of like refocus themselves and actually start competing again. Because this wasn't it. And you don't have to win these games, but effort matters. You're trying to prepare yourself for a hot start this season. That ain't going to do it. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm out of Vegas. It's been a good time. Good time.